Welcome to the Disrupt Now podcast. This is Natalie Viglione, your host, and this is season 2, unlocking the cosmic mysteries around New Earth magic. My desire is to bring conversations that serve as cosmic medicine for all of the sacred souls that seek the revealing of the magic and mystery of the organic celestial energies. I powerfully step in as a sacred vessel for the Cosmic Mother, or as we can say, the divine feminine energy rising. I walk an authentic druidic path of primordial tradition, and I am here to share wisdom and the highest truth for the betterment of all beings, animals, minerals, plant life, and all that is. Please join me on this journey to explore and awaken the magic again. Welcome back to the Disrupt Now podcast. I'm Natalie Viglione, the host, and today I have Leanne Mercredi on the show. Here's the great thing about Leanne, another Soul Family tribe member. We are so connecting with via frequency again. And as soon as I started talking to her, I was like, yep, another Soul Family tribe. And I was on her podcast, and now she's on my podcast. And so we had such a lovely connection that we ended up in the getting to know each other, a little chat before we were going to record. We ended up talking for quite a while. And anyway, she's a beautiful soul. And she owns Spruce Energy Healing, and she's an Akashic record reader, Reiki master teacher, an intuitive medium. She does hypnosis, QHHT, and BQH practitioner, and she is the mother of 3 beautiful, sensitive souls, and she has beautiful practices and healings that we're going to dive into today, and really get into the nooks and crannies of talking about things that, when it comes to energy, talking about what's really happening in this world, that there are parasitic entities, there are things that, while we can't see these things with our eyes, some sensitives actually can, but for the most part, most people can't see auras and all of that just in your general day-to-day operation. So it's this conversation of bringing the soul back to remembering all the in-between, all of the what we call void, which actually is filled with the everything. And we delve into all kinds of details like that. So we get into a beautiful conversation about even experiences that she's had with her children. And it's magnificent to really see just such enlightened, beautiful souls raising children and bringing them into the awareness of who they truly are, which of course is far more than the experience that we're having in this matter form, but that is also extremely vital because it's a beautiful part. It is the experience. Yet there's some realities about this experience that many don't talk about, but Leanne and I, we do talk about it. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And to find more details about Leanne and to also connect with her website, go to spruceenergyhealing.com. In fact, she has a giveaway on her page that we're going to link as well. So make sure you snag that and get to know Leanne. She's, again, a gorgeous soul, and I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did in recording it. Welcome back, everyone. Let's dive into some more New Earth magic, cosmic medicine for the sacred soul. Well, Leanne, thank you. After the intro, I think we are going to just have this beautiful, meandering, wonderful conversation in the place that makes the most sense to people like us, the quantum. Quantum energy, the quantum field, because everything out here doesn't make sense at all. No.
It's very confusing.
It is. So thank you for being on the Disrupt Now podcast. I'm very grateful to have you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's step into some healing conversation
Okay.
first. So, Spruce energy healing is you.
Is me,
Is
yes.
you. So, let's kind of dive into the journey of, when did that turn on and how did that, because I think that's just going to lead us into this whole
Mhm.
quantum field, energy, vibrations, frequency, all of that. So, let's start there and then see where we go.
Well, for me, I feel like there was a slow buildup of building up this pressure, and then all of a sudden, the cap came off, and I just, like, exploded. So, kind of the buildup part was being a mom to high needs kids. My oldest, she's been diagnosed with autism and ADHD and Tourette syndrome and anxiety. There's
Mm,
lots of things that when she was little, I didn't understand, and it was very stressful. So that added a lot of anxiety to my life. So that was another one layer that kind of, you know, made this bottle full. And then that I think that also helped contribute to my issues with autoimmune.
mm,
So I started to like my hands were really stiff and I
mm,
couldn't braid my kids' hair. Getting out
mm,
of bed in the morning, I'd have to shower with hot water for half an hour in order to move. Like I knew something was wrong with my body. And then of course it took like 8 months in Canada. This was years ago, probably it's 2 years now. I had to actually get to a doctor and then started, the treatment process so that I could move. But having that autoimmune disease really put a huge impact on my life and how much it affected me and controlled my life.
yeah.
So it really put a lot of pressure in that bottle. And then just through, I'm going to say circumstance, synchronicity, I was visiting with a friend and she happens to be really into like Reiki and all this stuff, but she was closeted. And
Mhm.
for some reason, she happened to say something about Reiki, like that word. And I was just like, what is that? I need to know more about that. And we just kind of, and she was a little hesitant at the moment, but she really let it all out. And I was just enthralled. So I was like, I need to know more about that. So I started learning about it. And eventually I took a class. And then as soon as I took that class, it felt like these blinders came off. And I was able to see all these things in my life that I didn't notice before. And one of those things was my middle kid was having nightmares. She was having night terrors for years,
Mm.
screaming in the middle of the night. And I never really she was younger. So I her language wasn't quite there yet. But when I took Reiki, then I started to be like, this is weird. And I started asking her questions that I'd never thought of before. And I found out what was scaring her was that she was seeing faces. And these faces would say scary things to her when she closed her eyes. She only saw them when she closed her eyes. And from that was kind of like I knew this was something serious, like I could feel it. So
Mhm.
I through the channels of the few spiritual people in my life, I found somebody who could help guide me through how to resolve the situation. And one of the main things of that was that I had to do it myself. So this healer, she worked and she lessened things, but she couldn't fully remove it because my daughter kept inviting it back in. So it's something that I needed to deal with and do it on a consistent basis. So she taught me how to do it. And and then I would just check in on her, check in with my spiritual friend, be like, did I do this right? And she's like, yeah, I could feel it. You worked on it. I'm like, okay. So I built on my confidence, having somebody check in on me to be like, hey, yeah, you're doing it right. And I felt like in the moment I had no choice because I had to protect my kid.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have to do that, I don't think I would have stepped into something so traditionally scary.
Mhm. Mhm.
If I wasn't like trying to protect my kid. And I didn't feel scared. I just was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. So it took me longer. It took me like 2 months through the whole process because I was learning. Like since then it's happened again, and it took like 2 times, and I'm like, I can now explain to her how to do it. So
Yes.
because now she's 10, so way different than dealing with someone who's like 5.
Yeah.
Huge difference. But through that 2-month process, things just started unfolding. I got a past life regression, and when I was in there, I felt like as I was leaving, I had more questions. I wanted more things to ask, but I couldn't interrupt her as she was doing the induction, or not the induction, but like the waking up process.
Mm.
So I just thought in my head the question, and I got the answer right back. I'm like, oh, interesting. And then she brought me out and I was done. But that stuck with me of like just asking the questions and
Right.
getting an answer. That just never occurred to me before. And that was my first real experience with seeing something with my third eye in my mind on purpose. It wasn't, and I knew it wasn't imagination. So it was my first experience with that. And then my grandfather, who had passed away when I was about 16, started communicating with me, which was very unexpected.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I was outside and something caught my eye. It was shiny on the ground, and it was this coin. And I was like, okay, go to pick it up, thinking it just fell out of my husband's pocket like it does all the time. And it was a coin, a brand new sparkling coin, but it was about 10 years old, and it was from Taiwan. And I'm like, well, we've never been there. And we had lived in that house for a few years, so it wasn't the past owners. So I was like, what's going on? Okay, I took some pictures to try to figure out what it was because there was no English on it. Google image search did a wonderful job with that. And then, yeah, when I came inside, I just set it on the table. None of the kids were awake. This was early in the morning. I just was like, okay, I'm just going to set it here. I want it somewhere safe. And then after a few minutes, I'm like, oh, I want to go see that coin again. And I go over there and the coin is gone. Just vanished. And I'm like, what? There was nobody around. I was like, if it hadn't vanished, I probably wouldn't have paid as much attention to it as if it did, which is why it happened. My grandpa knows I'm stubborn like him. So I needed to be super obvious, especially at that point. So from the suggestion of the teacher that was helping me before, she suggested I sit down, get quiet, and say the names of the people that I thought it could be. And then when I got to my grandfather's name, I felt this big push, like heavy push on my shoulder that made me move down like at least like 5 inches. And I was like, what? Oh my God. Like, what's going on? I'm like, that was real. It wasn't a tingle. It wasn't, it was strong. And I was like, okay, I'm a little freaked out, but also really excited. Like, where do I go from here? So I'm not sure where I got this idea, whether it's from books or it just popped into my head, but every night when I fell asleep, when everyone was already asleep, so the house was quiet, no distractions, I would just have conversations with him in my mind. I would ask questions, and he guided me to different places. He guided me to my past lives, showed me different things and how to access certain things. So he was really a huge part in opening up this world for me. So I had someone who I really loved, who really loved me, showing me and guiding me and really pushing me because I needed that push so much because I stubborn, right? And stubborn and thrifty, just like all the farmers in my family. So that's kind of it's been really ingrained into me. So when the idea of taking a mediumship course came to me, was like pushed and like came at me from every direction, I was like, no, I can't spend that money. That's more money than I've spent on anything like this or other things on myself for how many years. I couldn't justify it. But he was really pushing me, and finally I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And I signed up on like the last day that I could. And as soon as I did, I felt like a huge shift. It was
Mhm.
amazing. Like I in so many different ways. Like my cycle changed like instantly. I went from being like so regular, always on the new moon, always, every single time, without me even knowing it. That's what it was. Like I didn't really pay attention to that. I paid attention to the dates. And then over 3 months, I switched all the way to a full moon. And I was just like, this is so weird. Like that made me like, because that's not my usual norm. And then, of course, the class just were like blew my mind. I went from like only talking to my grandpa to talking to like so many different souls. It was insane. But that, and then from there, everything else just flowed naturally.
Yeah.
And I found my grandpa, while he's still around, he's not an active member because I don't need that push anymore. I listen now.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
I don't need that big boot. Like if I'm gonna be really stubborn, like he'll come in and like give me a boot. But and I don't even
Pushing
need
you
that
again.
exactly. I don't need that as much anymore because I trust it more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
really I guess it was really important that I do it because he was very, very persistent. He didn't give up. And I'm really thankful that he is stubborn like me.
That's so interesting that you're, the guide to get you to that place was him. No, which makes all the sense, obviously, when you really think about it, because he knew how to break through all the barriers of the emotions that he carried,
Mhm.
and ancestrally, many carried. So that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, he knew what he was doing. And he knew that and I think, like, because I actually knew him, I'd have that feeling of, like, this connection, this love.
Yeah.
Like, a other guide, yes, I've known you past lives, but not this life. So, I don't have that real familiarity.
Hmm.
So, I was able to not brush it off so easily.
That's brilliant. I love that story. And oh, the stepping, it's so intriguing because you got shoved into the quantum, which I mean, like we can say the unseen, which
Mhm,
is not, it's everything and nothing. It's that the expansiveness of that space of what is really happening in the, I say, the eternal now is so powerful, because I mean you really got shoved into that with your daughter.
mhm,
And I mean that is also a topic that I have discovered. People don't want to talk about entities and there's a billion different names. I mean, I can
mhm,
go into all the ancient texts in which, relate to archons, whatever. It almost, to me, it never matters what words we want to say to call them.
mhm.
It's the fact that it's real.
Yeah.
And that is another layer of the quantum fields that we're dealing with, isn't it?
Like, it's sensing, knowing, believing in the things that you don't necessarily see. I think of it as just like science, where like you do an experiment and maybe you don't know what's happening, but there's a result, a measurable result. That is what you're looking for in all these experiments. So if there's a result, if there's something happening, if there's an experience, and there's a change in that experience, there's something happening. So it has to be real, even if you can't explain what's going on with the knowledge or the language that you have in this physical existence. So I think being okay with not knowing it and understanding it is a big part of it as well.
Totally.
Because I really don't think, especially, well, I'll say in my life, in this time frame, I don't think we can fully understand it. In the future, maybe. But right now, I don't think we can. And I'm okay with that because eventually I'll know.
Exactly. Right. Right. And like you said, it's, when we're working with the vibrational layers, in my vibrational medicine work, it's when you take that flower essence
Mhm.
and you notice the shift. It doesn't matter that you know how that experience happened as much as that it did.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
and recognizing that it did happen.
exactly.
That's all you need to do. Don't brush it off. Just
Yes.
acknowledge it. Like, it doesn't take that much effort, really, to just say, "Oh, that happened. Okay." I think I feel that when the ego gets involved, then you need to explain it. Then you need to know, then you need to be right. It's okay not to be right, because really, not all of us are wrong, like, all the time, because we don't have full knowledge. So we're always wrong. To some extent, you do the best you can, but you can't be 100% accurate, right all the time because we have limited knowledge.
Right, right.
You just do the best
Or
that you
more
can.
so, it's like we're not wrong as much as we didn't
Mm.
see the full picture,
Maybe
right?
that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
like
necessarily wrong, it's just not
it's
100%
this
right.
big and we know this much, and then more gets unveiled, then, oh, then
Yes, yes, and
the
it's
unveiling.
yes, it's just the
Yeah.
different layers, the
Yeah,
different but I really feel that, like, all the beings, all the energies in the quantum realm understand that, and they're not holding it against us. They
right.
know it's part of the journey, and we chose to not have all that knowledge so that we could
Exactly.
experience these parts of being majority right, majority wrong. We're just little bits here and there, just exploring.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and, in everything that is happening in this world today and
Mm.
has been, coming in with all of the knowing where everything is so clear. I mean, that doesn't that doesn't even allow us to grow in the human form in the right way because we have to start in the toddler. We can't even speak clearly, and so there's this whole, I mean, it truly is like an evolutionary process, even just to be able, I remember being when I like 2 years old and just knowing what was right,
Mm.
knowing exactly what was true and expressing it, but it was expressed around, you don't have the words to even utilize to speak in the ways that you really need to. And so that really is part of that process. It's not like we come in and we're just in full form and we're, in our we're in full we're in 46 form, I'm 46. So we just, show up and we're like, "Here, hello." So, obviously, we have quite the evolution process to go through.
Yeah, that's yeah, I don't and I love that we can experience that whole process in our life if we choose. And like the soul, of course, does that through multiple lifetimes. And it's just, I think that's really a big part of just the soul evolutionally growing. Of
Mhm.
starting at one point, you do the best you can at this point, and then you do your best you can at this point, and you do the best you can at this point, and it moves and grows and flows over time. And it's not a constant up and down, like it just flows and moves. And I feel like that's a real natural way for the soul to work with energy.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that experience with your daughter must have kind of blew like a it was like a quantum bomb in your home, wasn't it?
Yes, but also like I grew up in a very religious household and you don't talk about this kind of stuff. Like I knew not to talk. And my husband, he gets really scared. I knew I couldn't tell him because it would freak him out and he'd just want to move.
Mm,
So I was just like, I'm not gonna really go into detail about that. And even since then, I'd be like, "Oh, your grandpa's hanging out." He's like, "Don't tell me that stuff." I'm like, "Okay." So, y that's not really his comfort zone. But, yeah, it really, really just shook everything, and I felt so empowered because we got this we moved through this, and we did it together, me and her. It was this bonding experience. It opened up our lines of communication so
Wow.
that when things started happening to her again, or just throughout when she had certain questions, she would ask me. And she even does this now, like on the weekend, she's like, I wonder if like if psychics can look into the future, they could probably look into the past. I'm like, yes, we can see the past so much more clearly than the future because it's more set in stone. Like we can see it better. And she's like, I'm curious about dinosaurs. I think they were more colors than just like brown and green. Can you look? Just like, and just all of these like
That's
random
adorable.
questions that I would never think to ever explore.
Mhm.
So then we'll explore those things together, and it's really fun. And I'm really glad. Yeah, I'm glad we had a horrible experience that turned into good experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's good for her because she's very, very, very intuitive and she's very sensitive. And she's really bright that just draws in all these things to her if she's not careful. So it's good for her to experience
Yeah.
something so that she is more in control when she gets older.
Exactly. If only we all had that experience, would have made things a lot easier. So
It's true.
amazing, mom,
Mm.
for opening that space for her, because that truly, it's like just a trajectory to like to be able to come into full form and to know thyself in that,
Mhm.
you know, with that kind of openness.
Yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, and I feel well, and she's just a very confident person, and I feel this just adds extra confidence, and
Yeah.
I love that because
Yeah.
I wish, of course, we all wish we had that growing up, right? But different times, different parents,
Different
things.
lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I, of course, when you think about, then you go, oh, I wish if I had that when I was a kid, I'd be different. But the reason that happened is so that you'd be here right now. So you'd parent the way you parent now, and yada, yada, yada. Like, there's always a rhyme and a reason. But I really like having that openness with my kids.
Yeah. Less distortions to deal with, that does make healing journeys and just journey into stepping into the mission that someone is here to unfold so much easier. So, uh, w tell me, your experience in, because when we open these fields and these channels and these things, there's a lot of protection of our energies and, a lot of things that just become like everyday, this is my spiritual practice includes all these things. I mean, not only going through those kinds of experiences, but that realization and the levels that open within you
Mhm.
once you get blown open. I always think of it like you can't put toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, it's true.
Go ahead,
And
try.
yeah, yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
And I think because my first experiences were pretty dark, that really showed me how important energetic protection and boundaries are. Like, it was really emphasized right from the get-go, "You need this."
Yeah.
It's not some fairy thing that's like, "Oh, this I heard somebody had this," or "This happened to somebody," and just not
Mhm.
taking it seriously because it didn't happen to me or someone close to me.
Yeah.
I knew because I felt it, and I could tell the difference between the light and the dark right from the beginning. And, there's varying shades, and through experiences, you learn about all the different shades.
And
But
feelings with those shades, right?
yeah, like
Those
you just get used
visceral.
to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it takes a while to really get the sense of all of
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But I know lots of people who are maybe 20 years older than me who came from the school of thought that everything is love and light.
Mm.
Everything is amazing. And then recently, in the last like 5 years, specifically more a year or two, it's really hit them hard that there is this shadow, that there is this darkness. And it's not like shadow work within yourself, which is, I feel, is a little bit different.
It
This
is.
is like outside, darker energy that is kind of, I want to say, like harmful,
Malevolent. Yeah.
malevolent. That's the word. Yeah.
Hmm.
And facing it, because when you turn your back, you're
Hmm.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
So they've been forced because they've been vulnerable and they've been beaten down to look at it.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a big change happening where all these
Yeah.
people that were taught and only experienced good things or okay things, just not bad stuff, are now seeing the bad stuff. Or I'm going to say bad stuff. I know there's no real technical good or bad. It's just varying shades. But I'm thinking of the energy that does not want good things for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say the vile or I mean, it's evil.
Yeah.
There's evil, and that's okay to say too. That's another word that people are like, "I don't know if I want." But
I
I mean, when you get into the depths of the truths of the things that now are being very revealed, uh, I think it's okay. There are some words we can use.
I just think some words, specifically like evil, has a lot of fear associated with it,
It
especially
does, it's
because of
true.
religion. And I
Oh,
think if
yeah.
you have fear, then
Mhm.
you are not, it takes away your power and you're not able to confront and you're not able to fight
Yeah.
against, work
Yeah.
against, get your boundary, get your protection. You're
Yeah.
more vulnerable. So I feel that the words, like you and me using that word, no fear, all fine. But there's
Yeah.
some people
Same.
who'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, that makes me scared. So you have to
Yeah.
like use different
Mhm.
words so that
Like
the
malevolent, which is
yeah,
very hard to say, but it actually
yes,
sounds kinda
it's
beautiful.
Snow White, and like, yes, Maleficent, like, that's what it reminds
Malevolent.
me of, and you're like, not good, but, like, beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
so
agree.
I depending on who I'm talking to, I'll,
Yeah.
like, change my wording because I don't feel fear even when I've seen some really scary, scary stuff, and this is more than what happened to my daughter. And I wasn't scared. I have felt like, "Okay, I cannot look at this because that makes me more vulnerable." I call in all the help, and I do what I need to do depending on what I'm guided to do, but I don't feel fear.
Exactly.
And I don't know if that's something that's just, like, innate in me
I think so.
or if it's something, 'cause I never felt fear in the beginning,
Me
and
neither.
then which is weird.
Yeah.
I 'Cause I would expect you see something scary, you'd be scared. But scary movies terrify me, don't watch 'em.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Same, same. But, it's like, I feel like this is we're getting into something very interesting. I and obviously, we will explain it in different ways, right?
Yeah.
But I do feel, the indigo field is a very strong field of being able to go into the underbelly, if you will, or to go into where the vial hang out into those lowest of low frequencies, where you see it and you can acknowledge it and and stand in that so strongly that there is absolutely no fear because you know what's on the other side behind you, which we could say is light, but it's far more than that. It's divine. It's all these words that we could use, but it's like a protected energy field of being able to acknowledge things, whereas others can stand in that, and it's a very different experience. So, from my at least from my uncoverings in my own existence and working with people that have that too, it's a shared common thread, I guess is the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, and I feel like for most things in your life, once you connect to your spirit team and to your galactic team, to your higher self, you don't feel alone.
Right.
You're so much more powerful in a group than when you are by yourself. And I feel like that's one of the main things about why everyone is so separated.
Yeah.
It was on purpose to make us less powerful. Why,
Absolutely. Mm.
the witch trials and the witch hunts and the burnings, you're scattering, turning people against each other because as a group, you're powerful.
Yeah.
So, on a spiritual sense, the same thing. Like all these teachers and all of these schools, you'd be prosecuted if you were made aware of them. So everything was in secret. Everything was in hiding and separate from each other. Now it's becoming more open. People are finding and teaching and just sharing knowledge and connecting, and we're getting more powerful. because we're strong. We're together. We're not alone in the physical sense and in the spiritual sense.
Exactly. Exactly. So how did so were you, let's talk about kind of this. How are you using all of this in your work today? Like, and I think that we keep getting our layers blown open, if you will, as every day moves. Yeah. Like, oh,
Constantly get knocked
that
down,
thing
pulled up,
too?
twist all over the place. Like, you start the journey, you never finish. It's just,
Oh, never. Yeah, endless, it feels like.
yeah.
Yeah.
But how I incorporate everything. So after the mediumship, I learned how to read the Akashic records and how to do healings in the Akashic records. And that's when I really started connecting to my galactic family as well, and really leaning into my past lives,
Mhm,
human and non-human.
mhm,
And I really I really had this strong drive to connect to these galactic beings who were part of my soul family. So I would talk to them at least once a week, and it's been pretty continuous. They've taught me so many things, and many of my healing techniques have come from them.
mhm,
So when I do a intuitive session, so I feel the energy body, I move the energy body, I intuitively go into why the things are there, why the different blocks or cords or ties, go into past lives, go into different reasonings. So every time it's completely different. And I use the Akashic records, and I use like intuition, and I use energy healing, and I blend it all together for, I have 3 different intuitive sessions depending on what your intention is, but
mhm.
it all comes from that place.
Yeah.
And then my newer session, so I took quantum healing hypnosis,
Mhm,
the Dolores Cannon technique, and I also took beyond quantum healing, which is a branch off. One of her students wanted to teach it a different way, so she
mhm.
went and taught it a different way. So I've taken both of them, and it's really beautiful guiding other people through this experience that I go through myself when I read for other people. So
Yeah.
I guide people to their past lives through them, and when we encounter roadblocks, like every single time, I'm like, I've encountered that roadblock. I know how to do this. Then you ask the right questions and you move through them. And then you connect to the higher self. And lots of the times you talk to spirit team members or past loved ones, depending on what is needed. And it's really, really exciting watching other people go through this experience
Mhm,
and how they experience it, because everyone's so different.
mhm.
Everyone's clairs are a little bit different, and playing with someone else's energy is really fun when it's not just me. So I know exactly which of my clairs are stronger. I
Yeah.
know when I read somebody else, if they have a really strong clair, it gets amplified in me. But when I'm guiding somebody else through it, it's it's different in that aspect. So it's really fun for me to navigate all those different ways to move through energy. So that's really exciting for me. I really enjoy seeing other people's minds be like really blown and expanded, and I feel like it's life changing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's also that integration level too, isn't it? Like
Mhm.
after it, it's like I always the word healer has always been like that. Well, more like guide to in a healing modality that then turns on the healer in you. It's like a more it's way more complex than that,
Yeah.
but it's and just would love to, have your shared experience in the work because it's more like the sessions happen, things happen, moving through layers, but it's like the after
Mm.
when, in the work that they're doing in the everyday where that is amplified and they begin to get stronger and more amplified in their connections is I mean that is such a testament to this, this totally all the information is there and waiting for you to tap into it kind of visceral quantum, whatever we want to call it, and that is so exciting to me. Like,
Mhm.
how does that work with you, and how you're seeing that unfold for people? Because that I think is beautiful, just beautiful.
The way I kind of see it or think of it is like the quantum's all around you. It's this
Mhm.
cloud surrounding you, and many of us just don't reach out. We're
Mm.
not touching it. We're just like, it's around you, but there's like a buffer, and you're like, cool, whatever. I don't notice you. But when you have a session, whether it's an intuitive session, energy healing session, hypnosis session, that it's a little bit of it's drawn in. That cloud is pulled into you. That energy is connected to you, and you get a little taste. You get a little feeling of it,
Mhm.
and it can spark you if you're ready. It'll spark your curiosity, and then
Mhm.
you can gather more. You can access more, and you can learn how to move that energy and collect it and work with it. So I feel like it's just a spark. It's an
Yeah.
ignition.
Yeah.
You're just you're introducing this energy to someone and showing them how to work with it. Like one
Mhm.
thing for my intuitive sessions is I really try to give steps how to move forward.
Yeah.
So I don't just do the healing for you. I don't just tell you how to do stuff. I say
Yeah.
your next step, if you choose to, is to work on this.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm given a lot, and sometimes I'm only given one thing. It kind of depends on the person, right? If I'm
Yeah.
talking to their higher self and their spirit team, they know what's going on more than me. So I just follow their lead, and
Mhm.
we have a game plan for the future of
Yeah.
what they can work on
Yeah.
and how to connect more themselves to that energy field. So
Yeah,
that's one thing
because
I
you said something very important. If said human is ready. Yeah.
well, I don't know how many times my team has tried to like come in and I'm like, I'm not ready. Like my grandma showed herself to me. I said it like, Grandma, that scared me. I don't want to see you. And she never came back.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready at that time. And
Right.
I told her.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
because I was scared. So obviously you're not ready.
Yeah.
And even when I was ready, I was so bombarded. I needed a
Mhm.
big boot to get me to pay attention. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
my grandpa was the boot, and sometimes I'm the boot for someone else.
Yeah.
So,
I've called it the stiletto
oh,
before.
mm, yeah,
Yeah.
good
A
old
little
punch in there.
slow up there,
Mm,
yeah. It's
swift
just a
kick.
different image, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that yeah, and that's, and what I really feel, like, cosmic medicine, right? This
Mm,
whole season 2 of what we're the reason that kind of came through is as well is because with, like, our original grid of this planet being turned back on, and all of these energies, that the malevolent energies and such being, cleansed and purged, and, like, it's
mhm.
basically like the astral is being cleaned, right?
Yeah.
Purged of these energies. That's happening in us
Mhm.
simultaneously, right? And this, I think, is the most uncomfortable place for for all of us together, because it's like a imagine, like, if your house was so dirty, like, with
Mhm.
dust everywhere, and like, everyone is just in the house, and everyone starts dusting at the same time. That's the image that keeps coming over me, is like we're all dusting, and so is the planet at the same time, and
You can't escape it.
yeah, you can't.
Just dust everywhere in the air, and it's just like
As we're, like, wiping our noses, like, it's physically, even literally.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
There's all that I keep getting the same thing that like all the chaos, all the healing, all the shadow work, all the illumination of these parts of ourselves that we haven't been seeing are happening on individual layer and an earth layer, like a real collective layer. And everyone, I think we bounce in between which one we're focusing on,
Mhm,
and everyone's focus is a little bit different. But I
mhm.
feel like it is important to look at both and not just focus on one.
Yeah.
But I do feel that when you do one, let's say you're focusing on yourself, you can't help but focus on the earth as well. It's I feel like it's very natural to go back
Yeah.
and forth as long as you allow that to go back and forth instead of forcing yourself to just focus on yourself or just focus
Exactly.
on the earth. Allow your attention to wane because you need to do both.
Yeah.
And I think it's by design because you can't do one without the other.
Yeah.
And we all are feeling it so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I think that is the point here. Like we're, because of the time, we're doing that. Like if we would have done this conversation 5 years ago, it would have been a very different conversation,
Mhm.
And that to me is so powerful when we think of the energies rising or coming back online, whatever, however we want to like talk about that. But it's an interesting time because the spiraling of energies makes it really unique where every day it's like we were talking about before, it's something new,
Mhm.
deeper, something more expansive. It just keeps coming. And when you're, I guess, for those of us in the intuitive, precognitive, all those kinds of things that are online, empathic, all those things, it's a lot. It's a lot, isn't it?
It is so much because that's why having the boundaries and the
Mhm.
protection is so important because it's not the world has so much energy and it's purging, and you don't want to be the place where it purges to.
Right.
Because
That's
when you look at the world, everyone's starting to realize and notice all these people and these things that are really bad. We're looking at the shadows of the earth, just like we're looking at the shadows of ourselves. So everyone's awakening to the fact that there is bad out there. What we thought was good is not what we thought it was. What we were told is good is not what it actually is. Judge for yourself, not just what you're told. And I think across the board, even people who aren't spiritual or anything really, it's really across the board. People are starting to realize that there's a lot of, I'm going to say bad, malevolent out there. Even if they don't fully understand or see all of it, they're starting to see some of it. And that is a huge step forward.
Phew. Yeah,
Huge. Because it's not
huge.
just us or like yeah, it's not just us. Like I'll like even talk to like even people who would never change. People like my dad who are just very set in their ways because he's like almost 80. Like he's pretty set. And he can't hear very well either. So it's not like he can hear my words to change. But anyways, even people that are who you would think would never change are seeing certain things like, oh, that politician who I thought was really good is actually doing something really bad. This is weird. Or, oh, that celebrity that I see around, they did something horrible. Oh, interesting. Like they're just seeing these little things and they're actually being put onto news sources that they watch, which you can't really trust fully anyway, some of these places, but they're even on them, on those places. So that's so weird. And even if it's not the full truth, it's enough to crack a little bit in many people. And that crack shows hope.
Yeah.
And then it trickles down. And of course, the younger generations are amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm so excited for how open and how not complacent they are. I think that's the big thing because when I grew up, especially being a woman, you have to be complacent. You have to put up with things. You're forced to put up with things because even if you weren't and you tried, you were like pushed back down. Whereas now, like I'm gonna say kids, people in their 20s, and people in their teens, they don't have that as much. People try and they're like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not putting up with that. And I love that so much.
Yeah. That is a huge difference. Huge difference. But the beauty of this, I think, you know, those of us that, I again when I really think of my that evolution into this age now, I was it's truly that spirit of warrior to be, the crazy one.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the crazy ones that have been talking about a lot of things for a long time.
Mm.
And now, now that that's able to break through in different ways so that we aren't seen as the crazy anymore. And now and that really does help
Mhm.
even in our own healing, because to be seen and heard for the first time in ever, potentially, that is a huge thing.
Yeah,
It changes everything,
that's a main part of the witch wound.
Totally, 100%.
Being being hurt by some way for talking, for being,
Exactly.
experiencing who you are, showing who you are, not just like hiding it.
Exactly.
And then so this is so healing for the whole world. Every
Yeah.
time that like I get that training that tries to kick up and be like, "Oh, be quiet, be kind, just like don't ruffle any feathers."
Mm.
And then it's like, "Well, no, because I feel it that this is like something I need to stand up for, and I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing
Yep.
it for all the witches all through time.
Exactly.
I'm doing it
Exactly.
for everybody, and not just for me in this moment."
Exactly.
So I find having that little perspective makes it easier to get past that conditioning.
It does. It does. Yeah, and the more people rising using
Mhm.
our throat, using our voice, having this conversation we're having even now, which could go into a million other places, but that alone, that is changing things
Mhm.
rapidly, especially when it comes from this truly genuine place that's
Mhm.
unlike what, like you were saying before, which I think is a really, really like vital point to talk about. For far too long, and this is why I never got into anything that was new age ever,
Mm.
and always resisted it. It was like, oil and water. And I was like, why is that? Why? Because I'm spiritual. Like, why
Mhm.
is this just, it was because, like you said, that indoctrination into love and light and rainbows and unicorns and kittens forever, is like, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
And, now we can drop that energy and it doesn't have quite the effect that it used to have, which was like, ew. She is just so so not love and light, or whatever, right?
Mhm.
We're in
Yeah.
these different energies where speaking truth can be heard in new ways by those that want to hear it, right?
Yeah. I That's the important part, speaking the truth.
Yeah.
Your truth, what you feel inside, and if you can bring it out, it lands totally different than when it's altered by these outside conditionings or forces that are trying to distort it or keep it more quiet. When you are able to just let it out, even if they're the same words, it feels completely different.
Yeah.
People can tell. People are getting more in tune with themselves, and they can tell. It's not they can start to smell the bullshit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's turning on that other these other senses
Mhm.
outside of the touch, taste, yeah,
Yeah.
mhm.
And if people wanna just say, "Oh, it's my gut response," I can just be a good sense of people, cool.
Yep.
If you don't want to fully acknowledge, that's where you are. But most people, even the more closed-minded people, be like, "Oh yeah, that person, I didn't feel good around them. I don't trust them." Oh, good, good. Like
There's that.
lean into that, you
Yeah,
know?
there's that intuition
Mhm.
turning on, yeah.
Exactly. It's You can't stop it,
Yeah.
which I it's really exciting. The progression that's happened, it's just it makes me so excited. It
Yeah.
makes me so, so excited that people I'm gonna say, well, yeah, we're going through it now, and a
Mhm.
lot of people, like, when they first wake up, like, there's, like, a year probably of, like, oh, like, working
Heavy.
through all the junk and, like, it's not easy, but when you see somebody from the other perspective when you've already gone through it, it's exciting because you know where they're going to go. And if they want to ask for help, you can help them.
Exactly.
They just need to reach their hand out. But some people don't know that they can, which is sad.
That is true. That is true. Maybe we should drop a little nugget in here since we're talking
Mm.
that, everyone can allow themselves the ability to ask for help.
Mm. Yes, I think that is, I'm going to say specifically, well, I'm not going to say specifically, I'm going to say specifically women, but no, men have trouble asking for help too. It's just different areas. It's really, we're all told to be independent, to be individual, to like, you're in this alone fighting and like everyone else wants things that you have and vice versa. It's this us against them mentality. And we can all work together. We can all help each other. It's okay to ask for help. And then they can ask you for help and we can work together in
Yeah.
a community. I'm really finding myself longing for that style.
Yeah, me too.
It's
For a
it's
long
really
time.
needed. Yeah, it's like the soul's longing for it to be the way that we're designed to be.
Yeah.
We've been
Unity
separated.
consciousness.
Yeah. It's just, that's probably to me is the saddest part of the
Yeah,
way that
me
we've been
too.
living for so long and not
Oh,
even
it is.
realizing, not even
Yeah.
realizing. So
Or
some of us,
some of us realizing and just not being able
yeah.
to live in that. And
Mhm.
that is really, it's kind of like that, the one, when you can see what is possible,
Mm.
you felt it because other timelines,
Yeah.
because of other incarnations that have been spent in that,
Mm.
that is truly, but the truth is that being able to paint the picture of what is possible is also quite healing in and of itself because it is possible. It
Mhm.
is possible. It is.
Yeah, I agree. I can't, whenever I look into the future, like there's so many different ways that it could happen, but so many different, it's, we have a lot of possibilities, but what I feel is so, it's inevitable, is a place where we can look out for each other when we
Yeah.
are an actual human race, when we
Yeah.
are actually like, we're not fighting us against them anymore. It's,
Exactly.
you're seen as a unified. And I feel that that has a lot to do with like galactic disclosure and
Yeah.
seeing that, oh, yeah, putting everything actually in perspective. And because right now we're so focused on Earth, we don't see the other parts of the universe. So I feel like that is a really big part of it. And I'm so excited for when that eventually plays out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my
It's
soul's
like,
longing for it.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's really interesting. It's like, some of us are like, yeah, and obvious, duh. But then you're
Yeah.
like, but that's not fair because, that it's again being stuck in that illusion, the false matrix
Mm.
aspect of the realm that has really kept that so hidden. And so,
Mhm.
it is really that starseed indigo wanderer, whatever words we use for, the journey of being the ones that poke holes to see
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
and now that more holes are being poked, if you
Mhm. Yeah. It's getting way more sparse.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's intriguing.
Yeah, I love that idea, the thought of like we're all poking holes, and then the people who have just been so used to it or have been here for a really long time that kind of forgot are starting to see the light from the holes. I love
Yeah.
that picture. I love
Yeah.
that.
That just came through of like a and that feels really good because it's like
Mhm.
the light is coming in and, we're again just having beautiful conversations like these that feel so organic and natural. When we first met, I was like, I've known her for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
The soul's just that is happening at more of a rapid pace
Mhm.
than ever before.
Mhm.
That's been a beautiful opening.
Yeah. that's that familiarity, where that
Exactly.
comfort, the
Yeah.
safety, where you're like, yeah, I can just be myself. I don't need to put on all these layers to make it safe,
Yep.
And I feel that I think that's kind of like for more of our generation, maybe not so much the younger generations where they feel like they have to put on those layers to be safe. It's just conditioning. We're just so used to doing it. But I love any chance I get to try to push those away and just be
Yes,
myself. So that's
exactly.
always fun. I like talking to people who make me feel so comfortable. So this is wonderful. Thank
Yeah,
you.
same. Yeah, thank you. Well, so first of all, like, is there any gifts or sharings that you'd like to provide to the listeners? And then let's talk about how people can find you.
Hmm. So the only thing that popped in my head with like a gift or sharing, could I explain what I do for my energetic protection?
I would adore that.
Okay. So I do this I do it different times of the day. I always do it in the morning. And then when I do a session or if I'm talking to somebody over the computer like this, I'll do another little one, just a temporary one for just that little conversation or just that session. So I imagine white light coming in through my head. This is source light, universe light, God light, whatever you like to call it. And I imagine it raining down in through your body. It's covering you and soaking into you. And you can take as much time as you want or have it really quick, your choice. And when it gets to your feet, you imagine that energy going into the earth and going deep inside. And when I'm inside the earth, I imagine the earth's energy is like a flower with these petals that move like seaweed in the water when
Mm,
it's like flowing. And I imagine the energy coming up and those seaweed type movements going all the way around me, and it's hugging me and it's taking away the energy that doesn't serve me and giving me all this love and all these hugs. And
mm,
then so I've made this little cycle that goes all the way down and up. And then I ask that there's bright white light all the way around me in this ball. And I ask my higher self to come forward, shine through me, be present in my day. And then if I want, I'll put up a golden energy grid around that bubble. And it's like chicken wire, but gold. And it's usually triangles, but sometimes like octagon or whatever you want. And that energy is like it's a filter. So imagine like plastic wrap that has little holes. So all the energy that is good for you comes through, but it shields against things that are not for your highest good. So that's my whole visual. And you can, if you do it all the time, you could do it really quick. But if you have the time to really feel that earth energy surround you, feels really, really good. So that's what I do every morning as I'm getting ready for the day. And that has helped me so much. So
I
if
love that.
if there's any little parts of that that you like that you want to incorporate, have at her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, love that. Thank you for sharing because
Mhm.
it's so, what I love, I came up with this term called spiritual Krav Maga.
Oh,
And
for
it's
sure.
because Krav Maga is like pulls from all these different martial arts,
Ah,
right? So
yes.
this is like protection Krav Maga, where you pull from all these different sources, right? And kind of create your own
Mhm.
beautiful practice because it's like I love that I do a very similar shield too,
Mm,
like especially before bed because
yeah.
night, throughout the night and stuff.
Mhm.
So that's beautiful. Thank you for
Oh, you're
sharing.
welcome. Yeah, and of course, as time goes on, you bring more things. You
Yeah.
find little pieces that fit, you try them on, and then and especially as you get more intuitive, you can ask after my bubble, what do I need today? What do I need with this session for the person? Either to help them or to help you. Like what other layers would be helpful? And then whatever pops in, you build.
Yeah.
So I being flexible in that I think is important because if you get very rigid in what you do every day, as your energy changes, as the world energy changes, you need to adapt.
Right.
So,
Yeah, new things come in the field all the time, right?
yeah.
And
So
stronger or less than, I mean, I
yeah.
think there's a lot more stronger things coming in than ever
Yes.
before now. So it's like maybe doing it more often, things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And the brighter you get, moth to a flame.
Yeah. That's
And
it.
exactly. And the more outspoken you are, the more your energy goes out and the more you can attract. And the more healings or more confrontations that you do with your energy healings, let's say when you're removing things that are not for people's highest good, they don't like it.
No.
So you need to be able to have boundaries and protect yourself without fear.
Exactly.
So it's just being consistent and trusting your spirit team to remind you, give you a smack if you forget. Give permission to like, hey, but
You haven't been doing this. Yeah.
exactly. You know, and when you ask for help, if you don't listen to the answer and you have a spirit team like mine who knows my energy, they give me a big swift kick. And you might not always like the result of the kick.
Yeah.
Like when one broke my microwave. Yeah, I
Mm.
wasn't listening. I was like, oh, I know I shouldn't microwave in plastic, but it's so easy. And I was like, there's something, my skin's not very good. How can I fix this? And I was like, and I thought, oh, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Like, just it's too much in my body. Like, I need to like lower that, all the chemicals in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't listen, and then my microwave broke. They gave me 2 chances. I did it twice, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm pushing it. And then it broke. And I was not happy that I had to spend $200 on a toaster because I am farm thrifty. They hit me where it hurts. So
Yeah. Mm. Good.
oh, the
That's a really
adventures.
good example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, not listening. Okay, well, we're just gonna break this, so you can't use it anymore. How's that?
Yeah, like they, that's just how my team has to show up for me because I don't always listen. But I'm getting better and better and better at listening.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really, really great point because all of us that are in these modalities, to bring these things into other people's lives because we've done it ourselves and right, we're vetted. It's like vetted processes, really, right? But as days get more challenging, we're trying to find ways to make things easier
Mhm.
when the reality is simple, yes, but it's really quite complex in how we have to to bring organic, healthy food into our lives every day, into the families' lives. We're still having to make incomes to pay for all this stupid crap because we're stuck in the false matrix with the stupid money thing that then we have to treat as energy. And, so it's like complex, right?
It's
So
the
sometimes
balancing is
we get into those modes too of like not being, oh,
no, we're human.
yeah,
If
exactly.
I don't care how spiritual you are, at the end of the day, and all your children are fighting over and being so cruel to each other, it's really, really hard to
Be like,
not like raise your voice and be like, everyone stop being jerks. Like, like you're just like it, you know,
exactly.
it's
We are
we're human.
humans.
We're human.
Exactly.
We're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you do the best you can. And I think part of it is you get pushed and pushed to get to that point where you are shown, yeah, I really am human.
Yes.
Like they don't want you to forget or be or because there's many spiritual leaders that forget that they're human because they've created this bubble around themselves where they don't have to experience being human. And that is going away.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we really keep that balance
Yeah.
until nobody has to have those. I'm not gonna say human, but we'll always be human. But those really tangible, physical, low density things,
Yeah.
we need to do those too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to eat junk food once in a while.
Right.
Some people more than once in a while. Depends on your body.
Yeah.
But
Depends on the
depends on your body. Everyone's different. And
Yeah.
some people are so judgmental about, oh, you have to have all this and have to all this. It's like, what works for you with your energy right now? If it
Yeah.
doesn't work with you, then make changes. If it does, you don't need to change unless you want to. There's no force. The only
It
reason
always
I went gluten-free is because my hands wouldn't move.
I was just to say, it always depends on, like, how good do you wanna feel? I
Yeah.
guess these are the questions, but even, like, in Ayurvedic teachings, it's like 80-20 rule, because,
Yeah.
man, when we're really rigid, I've been very rigid in
Yeah.
certain aspect, trying it through the healing and things, it's like rigidness, because that doesn't work. That's a very difficult energy, and that
Mhm.
doesn't work because, well, you are here on earth
Mhm.
as it is in this moment.
Yeah.
Hard to swallow, but here it is, and all it's, and that is another truth that I think is really great for us to just drop in here, because I think that when we're on healing journeys and we're feeling into all the energies, it's easy to get caught up in, like, you know, in that rigid energy of not
Mhm.
allowing, this whole permission and allowing thing is a very interesting dance right now.
And I feel it's very tied to the whole love and light part of
Yeah.
it as well. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it can become too much of a good thing is toxic.
Right.
In
Right.
most things, like medicines, herbs, too much, like a little tiny bit, oh, it's healing and beautiful. Have too much, it's poison.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
learning where your line is, listening to your body instead of other people telling you what to do, I think is a huge part of this journey where we are in Earth
Totally.
right now.
Absolutely. Agreed. I love it. All right. So where can people explore you?
So my website is spruceenergyhealing.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. It's pretty much all the same content, just, you know, put
Dispersed.
everywhere. Yes, most of my, like, there's some things that I'm on Instagram and Facebook that aren't anywhere else because they're pictures, but yeah, digress. It's all Spruce Energy Healing.
Beautiful.
And all of them have a picture of me for the little logo thing. So yeah, there
You
you go.
found you.
You know you found me. Yeah. If it looks like me, there I am.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Leanne. I appreciate your time and your energy and your beautiful spirit. And thank you for sharing your wisdom today. I very much enjoyed this
Mm.
conversation and just this very open, genuine energy. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so happy that you had me on and the rescheduling worked and just perfect. Wonderful. Worked out great. I
Exactly.
love
And
so.
we both were able to breathe this whole time.
Oh, yes, I know. Yeah.
Brilliant. I love
Yes.
when my sinuses are working for
It's
me.
just spirit is working through us.
All right, so we're gonna talk every day then. Just stay online and
Okay. I could use this energy boost every day. So, I
yeah,
could do that. All right.
yeah. Working sessions.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, well, thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you for listening to the Disrupt Now podcast. Please leave us a review. Also, if you want to get these episodes to your inbox, go to disruptnowpodcast.com and you can drop your email in. You can also see all of the episodes since day one. If you'd like to connect, we have a couple of different ways. You can join us on Telegram. The group is called Awakening Magick. Or if you want to drop a line, email us at info@natalieviglione.com. Thank you for being here on this journey to awaken the magic again.